All right, everybody. Happy Monday and welcome to this week's episode of Spilling the Anxiety. Now, just a reminder for the people who are just tuning in, you should probably catch up on what I already talked about, but I release an episode every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What time? I don't know yet because I am nowhere near that organized, but if you follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook, you will get the updates as they come. All I know is that it for sure will be updated before midnight each night those days. So, where to start? This week, I want to touch on the kind of person that I used to be and how my mental health status changed me. I think that it's important for me to talk about because ultimately I'm very happy with I can't even say that I'm happy with the way that I handle things, and I'm not happy with the kind of person I am. I feel like it's very bitter and it's a response to everything I have been through up until now. But I do have to say that I'm a very no nonsense, don't take shit kind of person. But that's also subjective because I'm very big on picking my battles. And while not everybody may agree with this, and it does not work for everybody, but I do sometimes, especially in a partnership, will take a back seat to see you happy because I think that we need to coexist. And I think that we need to be considerate for the other person that we're with, especially if we plan to be with them forever. So aside from that, I would have to say I'm a very honest and very out there person, and I am not the friend that you want, but I am certainly the friend that you need, because I will tell you exactly who the fuck you got to get up out your life, what you got to do with it, and still somehow support you and not press you. So I'm going to get into all of that today. I'm going to start culminating kind of in shorter episodes, which is hard because I talk a lot of shit, but I'm going to very much so try to shorten it just because if you guys come back 3 times a week, I don't want to wear out my welcome. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to jump into what kind of person I used to be before I really let my mental health struggles take over my personality. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right then, and we are back. So I want to let you guys know that doing this podcast and doing my blogging is actually very hard because I do still have people in my life whose opinions I care about and who are actively supporting me in my endeavors. And I don't want to put their business out there. And I don't want to put a lot of my own out there because I know that it doesn't matter what I'm doing. The internet is a very judgmental space, but I do want to help you guys in your own experiences by letting you know that there is someone else going through the same thing. So the only thing that I can promise is that I will strive to be as honest as possible, and I will not by any circumstance lie. That being said, there is an addendum to that. There is a quote, I believe by Barbara Kingsolver. I don't know how you say her last name. I'm pretty sure that's it. But it goes, memory is a complicated thing, a relative to the truth, but not its twin. I'm sure we've all heard at some point that memory is subjective to whoever is telling the memory. There are so many things that, and this isn't even in an argument perspective. With my best friend, we've been best friends for, what are we going on, 13 years now? Just about from 2009 to 2020. Okay, yes, 13 years this October. We have been through a lot of shit. And that being said, sometimes we talk about things that either I realize that she doesn't remember at all, or we remember differently, or neither one of us really remembers the details too. I have gotten into huge arguments with my kid's dad about how things went down. Specifically, one of the things that really sticks out to me is my 21st birthday. We both have entirely different accounts of what happened on the night of my 21st birthday. It's more like, I know that I was very happy to have him there. He came to visit me down in El Paso. After that, kind of our accounts differ. And yes, I was drinking, not a crazy amount, but I definitely was enough to be buzzed. And there was somebody there that I didn't want there, and I was desperately trying to get rid of them. By his account, I was all over this person all night. And then there is an argument as to whether somebody else that I was speaking to that night, who belonged in my platoon, whether that was the same person that I wanted gone. And I know that it wasn't, or at least my memory says that it doesn't. By his memory, it is. So that's just something to reference when I talk about this. I think that, and even in arguments with my mother, there are plenty of things that I'm like, I know that this happened this way. And she's like, no, they didn't. So it really kind of makes you think that memory is a fascinating thing. And I mean that very loosely, not in a very positive way at all. Just in the sense that everybody remembers things differently, and points of view are they can be contradicting. So when I tell these stories, this is my truth, and this is how it happened for me, and this is how I remembered it, and it's not in any sense to put down how anybody else who listens to this, who knows me, remembers it. When I was a kid, I was always very mature. At the same time, though, I can also say that I was wildly immature. I was what a teenager's version of mature is, which is, you're not into the buffoonery, but you also think you know it all, and you really don't. I was just talking to Carrie about this. Even now, I can look at text messages that I sent 2 years ago in the midst of arguments with my kid's father, or even stuff that I was talking about with her. And I'm like, God, could I have been any more stupid? Why didn't anybody from the sky just fucking strike me with lightning at that very moment? Because I couldn't even believe that I was capable of saying such stupidity. I look back at things from 10 years ago, because I do still have text messages on my phone from like 6+ years ago. I look at all this stuff, and I swear to God, for the life of me, some of those conversations I can't even remember having. I usually have the memory of like an elephant, but some of these are just lost to it. When I was a kid, I told myself that I would get married. I had decided my son's name because I was apparently incapable of having a daughter. I had planned out my whole life. I decided what I want to do, my ambitions. I was always in love with love. I was a tortured child, to say the least, because there were certain things that I wanted for myself that didn't reflect the life that I was scheduled to live at all. I grew up poor upon poor in the South Bronx. And like, even my mother still lives in the apartment that I was born into. And she's still renting down there. When I go back and visit my mom, honest to God, and I've never really told her this, but when I go visit my mom, it makes me sick to my stomach, because I'm fighting so many emotions. I'm fighting this sense of nostalgia that I'm not sure I want to live again. I don't want to feel that. I felt like I had no power as a kid. There were things that happened that I wanted so bad to fit in, but I was the weirdest fucking kid on the block. I was not fitting in anywhere. I wanted things that people my age didn't want. I was the kind of kid who got along better with my teachers than anybody else. I was insanely smart for absolutely no reason and refused to use it. I loved reading. I loved writing. I was a sucker duck. Everybody mistreated me. I was bullied like nobody's business. And I was still nice to those people. I ate a lot of shit. If it was a profession, I would have been the CEO Okay, I would have been like 10 years of experience in this topic. When I was in high school, I was by no means a popular person at all. Mind you, the transition between middle school and high school, I vowed that I was going to be a popular person. I got my bangs cut. I had sleek, chic, long hair. I wore tight jeans and shirts that, really just brought attention to my newfound breasts. And that's not to say that my cleavage was out, but they were definitely, form-fitting shirts. You could see how big my cleavage was, how big my bust was. Shirts that rolled up a little bit at the jeans so you can catch a little side glimpse of, my skin. And this is because these were all things that I thought would make me popular. I didn't have really any women to pull. My mom and I have always been different. It's weird. We're kind of really the same, but also wildly different. I didn't want to. This is terrible to say, but I didn't want to be like my mom because I didn't like where her life ended up. I didn't want to be still dating after 2 children from 2 different men. And that's not to say that my mother didn't pick a good father for me. I had an excellent father. Things just didn't work out because of the kind of people they were and their own problems. My mother was somebody who was never afforded an opportunity to finish her education and to get it appropriately. She didn't really get along with her siblings. My mother had lost her mother, my grandma, who I thought was like the best woman ever. And my mother was still working at a supermarket. I didn't really have a plethora of things to choose from. I didn't really have a lot of stuff. I always had a roof over my head. I always had, TV. I always had whatever it is. And then my mom got diagnosed with diabetes when I was 10, and my mother was an overweight woman. And these are all things I just didn't want to be. And I saw my mom I remember my mom would, date, and we would hear about her dates. And now looking back on it, I feel so bad because my mother was like me. She didn't have a lot of real friends that she could be real with. My mother's outlet was her dating life. She was somebody who demanded and commandeered attention where she went. I both wanted to be popular and I wanted to hide from the spotlight so fucking bad because I felt like if I got the spotlight, I did not know what the hell I would do with it. I was easily pressured as a kid, but even when I did the things that I was pressured into, I sucked at it. I remember in 3rd grade, my table in Miss Nolan's class, I remember sitting with Wanda, Davia, and Jennifer. And these were all girls who were relatively popular. Everybody knew. I wanted to be like Jennifer because Jennifer was, she was beautiful and everybody liked her. Wanda was very nice. Davia was very nice. I think I did a project with her in the 4th grade, and she had come into the school. She didn't start out there in pre-K like everybody else did. But these were all girls that were wildly popular than me. And I was the friend in the group who was nowhere near popular. I was very much so ugh, why do you hang out with her? But I was still there. When I was in high school, Carrie and we used to play Plants vs. Zombies, and we would go hang out in Barnes and Nobles. And we had a good time with each other. And I remember there was this one point, maybe it was the end of freshman year or beginning of sophomore year, where we really cemented ourselves as best friends. And aside from that first year, from freshman year, we didn't really have classes together like that until a very disastrous senior year. And it was economics. And we had a disaster time with a project that we were supposed to do. But I remember at one point, now this is really stupid.